Hello. This past Thursday, our council met in order to discuss the question of whether we should reopen Signal Hill Lutheran Church or not. As you know, our country has seen quite a divergence of practices both in our state and around the country. And there are varying views and opinions and feelings related to the question of how we should be in proximity to one another and how we should interact. As time has gone by and changes have occurred within our country, our council decided to meet to discuss whether we should reopen Signal Hill Lutheran Church or not. In order to address this question and to see where things are currently, there were 4 different authorities, if you will, or resources that were consulted. First, there was the Center for Disease Control. Secondly, there was the Victor Risk Management Group, who does risk management for businesses and things like that. The Illinois Department of Public Health, and also Governor Pritzker to see what he would have to say. So let's take a look at these, shall we? The Center for Disease Control. As we went to their website, we saw much of what we have seen already. The primary emphasis was upon the use of masks. And masks should be used in those cases where people have not been vaccinated. If you have not been vaccinated, you should wear a mask. If you are one who is personally at a high risk or vulnerability, then you should wear a mask. And if it is a region where there has been a great increase of exposure to COVID, so that there would be an alarm for the community at large. That's basically what we found at the Center for Disease Control and when we did our research there. We then went to the Victor Risk Management Group and took a look at what they had to say. And they echoed many of the things, of course, that the CDC emphasized. The main takeaway that we got from the Victor Risk Management Group is they did highlight the truth that the Center for Disease Control is not a body that is producing law for us in regard to these issues. They do their research, they offer counsel and guidance, but you are not mandated to follow what the CDC says. That comes later if the president or the governor or others who do have authority, on the basis of that knowledge, then they put into law certain boundaries and behaviors that we have to follow and listen to. The Illinois Department of Public Health. Now this one was, it gave us more information. As you may or may not know, our state of Illinois is broken up into individual regions, and they follow the course of COVID in each of these regions, and each region has its own rating that it receives and can open or close independently apart from the entire state. We are in St. Clair County, which falls into region number 4. And when we went to this website's information that they had to give us, and we specifically studied region 4, what we found is that there has been a very slow and steady increase recently with this Delta variant, but it hasn't reached a level that would prompt everything to shut down as we had at one time. So we are in a red zone, so to speak, where things are rising, but there are also some positives to take note of. For instance, they noted that the hospitals are not inundated, that the hospitals have plenty of beds available and respirators and so on and so forth. So it was kind of a mixed bag. Yes, we can see that there has been a slow and steady increase in just the last week or two related to COVID, but it's running higher than, of course, where we would like it. But we haven't reached a critical level or one that would signal a shutdown for our particular region. So that then leads us to Governor Pritzker. What can we gain from him? And when we went to his website, most of what he had on there, his executive orders, were more related to schools specifically. And that makes sense because the school year is about to kick in. Classes are supposed to open up, and so he wanted to set forth a proclamation to give them guidance. And in relation to schools, schools are required, everyone is to wear a mask, and every precaution is to be taken that is available at that particular school. Social distancing, ventilation, so on and so forth along the way. So he's taken a conservative approach with the schools. With this more recent appearance of the Delta variant, we can certainly see how around our nation there have been certain hotbeds of exposure and enough increase of COVID that it has prompted some cities, some states to shut down and to go back to those very quarantined and limited levels where restaurants had to close and etc. As you take a look at the map, you can see that some of these states that are in the red include some states here in the Midwest. Indeed, our own neighbors, the state of Missouri, they are one of these states that are now in a red alert state. But for us in Illinois, and specifically here in St. Clair County and in Region 4, it hasn't reached a critical level for us, or at least at this point in time. With this information that has been examined, there were other things that the council discussed. For example, the great majority of people who are going to get their COVID shots, it appears that they have. At least that's the assumption we were looking at. And the great majority of those who said, no, I don't want a COVID shot and I will not get one, they have made their minds up as well. And so the die has really been cast. And you will reap the consequences or the results of your choice accordingly, depending on what you chose and what happens from there. We realize that everyone has different information that they're looking at and have different feelings related to the question of getting the vaccination shot. But when all is said and done, we felt like the dust, for the most part, was settling on the issue whether to get a shot or whether not to get a shot, that has been settled for most of us. And the second observation that we noted is that already by their own initiative, our members have begun to congregate more together. We stand around in the fellowship hall. We visit, and we see one another and hug one another up in the chancel. And those restrictions of keeping distance and those other protocols that had previously been in place and had been practiced, now were already being compromised and given up for other social practices. So with all of this information in mind, the council determined that it is time to start moving in the direction of reopening our church. And should things reach a critical level for us in our particular region, we can pull back once again to our former state of caution and do all the things that we had done before. But some things now we are going to reopen, and some things we are not. So I know the question on your mind is, okay, so what are the changes? What are the things that we are going to open up and allow? Number one, we are going to take all the ropes off of the pews, and people are free to sit in whatever spots they want. Now, if you have personal concerns about social distancing, you can choose a pew or a spot that is away from others. Certainly, we have enough seating, or our congregation has become small enough where that option is something that can be done. But for those who feel more comfortable and who choose, we're taking the ropes down, and so you can sit anywhere in the church that you want. Secondly, we have decided to reopen up the fellowship hour. So this is the coffee and donuts in between services. And in fact, this Sunday, you will be able to partake on August the 8th. There will be donuts, there will be coffee. Tables have been set out, chairs are around, and so you can engage in the fellowship hour to the degree that you feel comfortable and to the degree that you want. In addition to these things, we are also going to reinitiate Bible classes. So the council has given the green light for Jerry Eggerdine's Monday class starting here in the fall. And as we get our seminary students in place and with our deaconess now on board, we may be planning some Bible studies on Sunday morning or at other times during the week. In addition to this, we are also giving the green light for the fellowship game day, when our members would get together on a Tuesday and have a potluck meal, and they would play cards and make puzzles and sit around and visit. So we are now open again to enjoy fellowship game day. In like fashion, groups that use our church are given the green light to use our church, whether that's the Girl Scouts, whether that's the Toastmasters, or whoever it may be. Well, then with that being said, then you might say, okay, well, what remains? What is not changing? What are the restrictions that we are going to keep in place? And here are the restrictions that we are going to keep in place for now. Certainly in following the CDC guidelines, masks will be worn by those who have not been vaccinated or those who have certain physical, medical concerns or needs that prompt them to wear a mask. Yes, we certainly encourage you to wear a mask if you have those vulnerabilities or those concerns. We know the older population is one that can be a little more at risk for COVID. So yes, masks are optional if you have been vaccinated. If you have not been vaccinated, then yes, we ask that you wear your mask. And this is pretty much what we had in place prior. Secondly, we're still going to have the disinfectant wipes available. So as you enter into the church, if that's your preference and you would like to wipe down the pew where you're going to be sitting or where you have your handhold to help you stand up, especially in light of the fact that we're going to be opening up the pews more and allowing people to sit anywhere they want, it may not be a bad idea to wipe things down, especially if you are of a more cautious nature. What also remains in place is that we are not going to use our hymnals or the Best of the Best songbook. Everything is still going to be printed out in the bulletin, and so your bulletin will be the main thing that you use for worship. And when you're done, when the service is over, take the bulletin with you or deposit in a trash or recycle can. So that is not going to change. In addition, there were some singing limitations. Remember in the beginning, they said, well, we shouldn't be singing because of the droplets going into the air. We are going to keep some of those singing restrictions in place. We have done that by eliminating some parts of the liturgy that get sung, by removing and not having singing during Holy Communion. The number of verses that we sing for songs have been trimmed back to just a certain number. So that is all going to stay in place. For now, we're going to limit the amount of singing that we do. When it comes to Holy Communion, we are still going to prepare the elements in a very safe way, and they will continue to be brought down to you in the pew, in their cups with their lids. That practice will continue for now as a safeguard. And you've done this enough times now, you know what's involved with that. And finally, the offering box. Instead of passing the offering plates, we are going to continue to just make use of the offering box that is placed there in the center aisle in which you drop your offering, and then at the appropriate time in the worship service, the offering box is brought forward to the front and placed on the front altar. So you can see we're beginning to open things up. And again, a lot of this is upon you and how you feel comfortable. You can still observe certain protocols, wearing masks, keeping your distance, and so on and so forth. as you feel comfortable. But we felt like with the data of what we were seeing for our region and where we are at right now, and what other churches are doing, and even observing our own behavior already within the congregation, the council thought we were going to take this measured step forward. So again, to recap, we're still going to have the Holy Communion in individual cups and lids, the offering box. We're going to be using the bulletin. Wipes will be available, etc. By and large, what's open now, you can sit wherever you want in the church. You can enjoy fellowship hour, have a donut and a cup of coffee if you'd like, or visit with the people in the fellowship hall after the service. Bible classes will be starting a little later on here in the fall. So here are some of the steps forward. As always, we welcome your input and your comments. Whether you think this is a good move or whether you have concerns, just respond to the email that has sent you this link, and you can offer your thoughts and your opinion and participate in your congregation in the way we do things. So I really appreciate the members of the council. I know these are issues over these months that they have talked about many times and prayed about and tried to discern what is the best and appropriate thing to do. And as we have sought our Lord's guidance, and as we've looked to consider what information was available to us, this was the decision that was made for now. So I thank you for your attention to this video message that I have shared with you. And I pray that our Lord is watching over you. Well, I know He's watching over you, but I pray that He's keeping you healthy and safe. And we look forward to seeing you in worship on Sunday. God bless you, and God bless our congregation, and God bless these United States of America.